But it doesn't matter, I'm just collecting sensor mites, and because of that the enemy is just always coming back. Watch for the guns of the ship. It's just going to shoot on you twice, I guess, at least twice. So I just shoot them down if I would be able. It looks like I'm not. Oh yeah, River Vandal. I was on to do a video about the River Vandal itself, how to beat it, because there is a way to beat this guy, but of course I will need to tell you a couple things before. Let's just take out everybody around, and in that way of course I will be able to do it. You see, it just hit me the second time because he was just that great that he just counting it out. Unstoppable, maybe I just made. So every enemy has its own place or area where it's just moving, and if you are just getting into it, then it's just going to approach you, and if you are just getting out from it, then it's just going to go back, you can see. And in that way I'm just able to train against the River Vandal. So if I'm going to get hit by it, of course I will be able to go away from it. But I was on to show you that even for that this guy just do not have weapons, and mostly the time it's just really stealthy, so you're just not seeing it because it's just invisible. They are really bad enemies because that they are just really fast, that you are just not really able to run away from them. Of course you can go up into that kind of places. In that way it's just not going to be able to hit you that easy, but of course it will be all around and it's going to wait for you until you are going to go down. So even for that it's just got only two sword. The most of the guys of course maybe just shooting them down from far. I'm advising that it's just the best if you do have the time, but if you don't and this guy is just getting close, look at this, he's just going to hit me all the time. I'm just not really able to jump away because it's just really going to hit me even for so one jump is not enough. It was, but yeah, of course mostly it's just not enough because it can jump up that high that it's just really hitting you. And watch it, because if you are just jumping up once, the second, if you are just able to jump away, the second time it's just going to jump and going to hit you because it's just jumping that far and that height that is just going to hit you again. So for that you do know that you just should not get close, but if it do get close, two jump should be enough, but watch for where you are just going to come down, because even for that you are just able to run away. Of course in that kind of situation where it's not going to be alone, you just not really able to, because if I'm going to run around and I'm just going to turn and I'm not going to run in straight, it looks like I'm not going to get hit now for some reason. Of course I'm happy about it because you are just able to run away from it. It looks like almost all the time, but of course it's just not that easy because it's just going to be always behind. If you are just thinking that it's just going to be behind. So of course you will really need to watch, and the jumpies will be your friend. But I did find another way which is really an easy way if you are I mean it's not the easiest way I guess, but at least it's working. So let me try it out, because for that thing I'm showing you for a pity thing that you are just not able to use your character under some agility. It's just because of the movement speed. If it's just not fast enough, for a pity thing I do not know what kind of speed you really need to be able to perform this. But if you are fast enough, you are able to move away from its hits in that way that you are just trying to move behind the guy, and it can happen that it's just not going to hit you. Of course it's really an interesting thing, at least for me, and I'm really like to dodge its attacks. of course you will need to get behind it, and you will always need to watch for it not to get hit. But of course, if I'm just going to not approach it behind it, then it's going to hit me. Of course, I'm just not able to move from the side. If I'm just on to move to the side, then it's just going to hit me, because I will need to get behind him, and of course I will need to be good in it, and it can happen that you are just not really able to. So that's why I said that you really need speed, but you can do it if you are just doing that way, that you are just really on to get behind it. Of course you will need to watch it all the time, because it can happen that you are just able to get behind it, but it will be on to you. Look at this, look at this, look at this. So this is the only way, if you are just getting that close, that you are just moving away from its hits. And in that way, how I do see it, just really not able to. Of course it might not work that easy if there will be two of them, but of course I will try it out. But at least I do see that if it's only one, I'm just able to, and then I just hit it, then I'm just able to stop for a bit, and of course I'm able to do such thing like moving away when he just started to move, and in that way I'm really able. But of course it's just not working that easy. You really need to get close. So it's an interesting enemy, because psychologically you should go away, and most of the time you are just doing so, and that way it can happen. That's why you are just not able to dodge it. You need to get as close as you can to be able to dodge it, and in that way it's really interesting, because of course it's just going to let you get close, because it will be on to get next to you, but he's just of course not counting on that. You are just on to dodge a step away from its attacks, and in that way of course I'm just still here and it's just not hitting me. Even for anything, of course it's just not easy, I guess. You need to move around it, and in that way of course, how you can see, it can happen that it's going to hit you. I think it's really need a good training, and I'm not sure that I'm going to do it, but at least I did find out that it's just working fine in some way. So one movement is just not going to be enough. You need to move and turn at the same time to get behind it during its attacks. But if you can see that it can happen, that in that way you are just going to get it behind, even for not going to get hit and without any kind of weapon. So if it's going to be the last enemy and you only will have just knife, you should not run away, even for that, because if you are just doing this, it's not always saving you, because it can happen that the guy is just going to hit you. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So in that way, of course, you just cannot be perfect, and of course I'm not it right now, because I'm on to show you all kind of version what it can do. But of course, if you are just able to move away from its attacks, because you are just know what to do, you are just really able to stay alive next to it. But of course I'm not on to do this all the time. I just did find out that it's just working like this. I think it will be this video altogether, but if I'm going to meet more of them, of course I will try it out, and if I'm going to be able to do such thing, then I'm going to let you know. Until I'm saying that don't try this at home, of course, and be sure that he is alone if you are just doing such thing like dodging its steps. If you are just willing to do such training like I was on to, then do it yourself and let me know if you were able to dodge against two Vandal which had swords or not. I'm really curious, and of course if I'm going to meet with them soon, I'm going to let you know about my experiences. But until then, I'm thanking you that you watched this one as well. Thank you and see you.